Sayona Mining Limited, ASX SYA on the Australian Stock Exchange and SYAXF on the OTC markets, is an emerging Tier 1 producer of lithium in projects in Canada, in Quebec, as well as tenements in the Pilbara region in Western Australia. And joining me to talk about this and more is Lucas Dow. Hello, Lucas.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
Now, congratulations, first of all. You're the new MD and CEO. So please explain, who are you, what do you bring to the role, and what do you plan to achieve for Sayona?
Thanks, Tim, and great to be with you. By way of background, I'm a mining engineer by training, worked across a host of geographies and commodities, including copper, lead, silver, zinc, manganese, also had exposure to gold, platinum, some tin, and also some bauxite. And in terms of career development, started out in traditional operational engineering roles and operational supervisory roles, such as drill and blast foreman and so forth, and progressed through to mining and processing manager roles, and then ultimately into operational general manager roles. From there, I stepped into the asset president and CEO role for BHP and Mitsubishi's joint venture, BMA. That joint venture operation comprised 8 operations, both open pit and underground, and an integrated logistics chain. More recently, I was CEO and country head for Adani Australia and had carriage and responsibility for developing the Carmichael mine, which is a greenfield mine development in excess of $2 billion US, which comprised the development of an open pit, processing facilities, and over 200 kilometres of rail, in addition to constructing and commissioning an above rail business.
You got some heavy duty tools there in your arsenal. Well, notice that you don't have a Canadian accent, so you're a purebred Aussie.
That's right, Tim. So I studied here in Brisbane, but moved around and worked in plenty of different jurisdictions and had a stint down in South America as well for 4 years. So, really enjoyed that in the copper business. So it's really that diverse background, Tim, and that breadth of experience that has got me pretty excited about what we're going to be able to do with Sayona. We've got a great resource base and, a great operating asset. And so, what I'm really looking forward to and working with the board and obviously the shareholders is how we drive Sayona forward and really bring NAL to the next level in terms of an operating asset, but in addition, how we bring that next development phase and growth to the company.
Well, that is going to be an exciting development. We'll talk about that in a sec, but your quarterly report's out today. So can you let us know some of the key highlights for the NAL project?
Yeah, so Tim, if I just take a step back, the immediate focus is very much around us delivering at NAL, and so I'll come to the quarterly results in a moment. In addition to that, working through the development phase of the growth opportunities that exist at both NAL and then Moblan. So they're the immediate focus that myself and the management team are ensconced in at the moment. But as we move forward, in terms of the quarterly results, certainly we've been through a ramp-up period and we had a strong production period in the last quarter. We saw spodumene concentrate just a tick under 50,000 tonnes at 49,660 tonnes for the quarter, which was up 23% quarter on quarter. That was really on the back of a couple of factors. One, we've seen mill utilisation or mill runtime increase from 73% last quarter through to 83%. And we've been seeing periods touching at 91% month on month. So we've really got a strong foundation in terms of that increased mill runtime, being able to drive through in terms of spodumene concentrate production. In addition, we've also seen spodumene recovery hit 68% and months at 69%. So the combination of increased mill runtime and utilisation combined with improved recoveries has certainly really driven that record production forward. So we've seen a record quarterly result, a record monthly result, and we've also seen daily records as well. So we've certainly got the building blocks to be able to drive us forward, Tim.
So this operational impact of the crushed ore dome has improved that throughput, has it?
Yeah, Tim, that's one of the other projects we've just brought online and it's starting to bear fruit for us already. The crushed ore dome contemplates, really it's an all-weather access and importantly provides protection during the harsh Quebec winters and essentially provides a buffer between the crushing circuit and the downstream milling operation. So in short, it provides us with around 6,000 tonnes of capacity or about a day and a half of feed material for the mill. So importantly, if we see any interruptions upstream in the crushing circuit, we've got the ability to be able to continue to feed the mill, and the mill is the bottleneck for the operation. So every opportunity we can make to continue to feed that mill is going to mean increased spodumene concentrate production.
So in terms of bottleneck production, you've got that mill operation, but in terms of sales and revenue, there's a bottleneck there with shipping. What were the drivers there on the lower revenue this quarter?
So revenue came in at $25 million for the quarter, which was down around 58% quarter on quarter. Primary driver of that was timing of shipping. So shipping for the quarter was down 52%. Really, that swung on the back of, we had a vessel that was scheduled to ship in the last few days of June. Due to adverse weather at the port, that vessel ended up sailing in July. So we'll see that revenue realised in the September quarter, but clearly that's had an impact on the sales volume reported for the quarter. In addition, obviously the market's deteriorated a little, and we've seen realised price come off around about 11% quarter on quarter to sit at around $885 Australian on an FOB basis.
So do you see that changing next quarter?
Well, Tim, our focus is really about driving our costs down, and so that's the area that self and Sylvain Collard, our president and COO in Canada, are really focused on. So over the next little while, for us, it's safety, it's volume and cost, and the key thing for us is to be able to get our cost position down. Costs have sat a little north of $1,500 Australian. We've got a number of activities in place, and in short, what we've got is a lot of high cost inventory, and not to bore you to death with it, but in short, during the ramp up, a lot of the mining costs and so forth have been absorbed within the inventory costs, and so they're washing through the system. So there's a long-winded way of saying ultimately what you're going to see coming into FY25, the quarter we just commenced, is a material reduction in unit cost of production.
Wow. So exploration activity, let's talk about that. What's on the horizon? I guess firstly for Quebec, and then secondly probably the Pilbara and your large tenement holding up there.
Yeah, so if we focus on Quebec initially, we've had some recent drilling results released to the market, and they've really represented a couple of exciting things for both NAL and Moblan. So if I just focus on NAL, those results have identified wide intersections at high grade, and they're on the existing leases. So it's near mine. And so really the opportunity for us there is not only mine life extension, but the prospect of being able to potentially expand NAL. So that's work that we're currently focused on. So there's additional drilling. We've got about another 30,000 metres that we'll do before the end of the calendar year on additional drilling. So we're expecting that to continue to move. But importantly, all of that drilling is going to add additional resource and reserve to the existing MRE. We're working through that at the moment. So that's really quite exciting for NAL. I mean, the great things about NAL, we're an existing operation, we're permitted, we've got the infrastructure there. So in terms of brownfield expansion, very little risk. And so we're just working through what that looks like, what these additional drilling results mean, and how that might play out.
And when would you be expecting to put an updated MRE to market?
So we're just working through that now, Tim. So the remainder of those results are coming in, and we're obviously seeing those additional drilling activities that I described occurring through the calendar year also underway. So we're just moving our way through that. So it won't be too far away, but obviously we want to make sure we get it right and that we understand how that's going to impact our development sequence for NAL. Just shifting gears to Moblan. Obviously, Moblan's a tier 1 deposit. It's got the potential to be one of, if not the lowest cost hard rock producing spodumene players in the world. Tremendous resource base. We've got about another 80,000 metres to go there in terms of drilling as well. Importantly, what we've seen at Moblan, again, similar wide intersections, high grade, and also a level of connectivity between the respective resources. So the prospectivity there continues to be high. And so for us, it's probably not a question of if with Moblan, it's more a question of when. And that's the work that we're doing now. So we're really focused on incorporating that latest drilling data, having a look at how that's going to impact the development sequence and how we might go about exploiting that. Importantly, the timing as well.
Lucas, you've got this all tied down. I was expecting an introduction to a new CEO, and my goodness, you've got all this stuff going on. Let's talk a second for about your ESG, environmental and social governance. What's happening in terms of your social relationships that the company has?
So, Tim, obviously, given our location in Quebec and not dissimilar to our Tabba resource that we've got in Western Australia, we've got strong relationships and engagement with First Nations or traditional owners of the Indigenous folks. So a large part of that's around being able to create economic opportunities, and whether that's through service development and so forth. The other aspect, we've got some work to do on the safety front, and my credo is a safe operation is a productive operation. So we really want to be able to drive that forward. So there's a couple of elements there that we've focused on the ESG front. And Tim, while I mentioned Tabata, I might just come back to that. Obviously, we've got the tenements that border Wildcat Resources, and obviously they had a recent discovery there. So we're drilling there as well. We've got a multi-phased program there. And obviously, as they say, if you want to go hunting moose, you want to be in moose country. And so we're right there in moose country.
Not elephants?
No, well, with the Canadian influence, they've already rubbed off on me, Tim.
Yeah.
We'll, we're busy with that activity already. And so, we're right alongside that. So again, I think, we're in the right spot and in a great position to be able to work through that tenement and understand the potential there.
Well, for investors watching, Sayona Mining Limited, an emerging tier 1 producer in Canada, and with the new CEO, Mr. Lucas Dow, on the Australian Stock Exchange SYA, on the OTC markets it's SYAXF. Mr. Dow, thank you very much for that extensive update today.
Thanks, Tim.